Hey everybody, these are the instructional videos for Introduction to 3D Interactive Development. So this is the non-gaming equivalent of our Introduction to 3D Development for Game Design. The reason why we created this workshop specifically is because we have a lot of people coming from the non-gaming space now that are asking for training that applies more to them. The general feeling is that if it's about games, they're not really going to learn anything pertinent about Unity. Which is interesting considering that this is pretty much the exact same workshop with just the gaming elements removed. But that's a little bit of context as to why we created this workshop. It applies to pretty much any non-gaming space. The project is something that would technically qualify as being in the AEC vertical. It is a kitchen configurator, so it definitely falls into architecture. That being said, since there are no game elements, a lot of studios that aren't gaming are going to be perfectly fine taking this workshop. So that is basically the why of this workshop. So let's just dive into it and start with the overview of the workshop. I'm going to be occasionally jumping through into the different documents that you're going to be given before teaching class. And the first one is our Introduction to 3D Interactive Development PowerPoint deck. So we have it here. The first thing that you're going to want to do in the workshop, in addition to just opening up the deck, is talking about yourself and introducing yourself. You'll notice that this specific slide has information for you to update about yourself, specifically your name and your job title, and the orange stuff on the right is actually a shape where you could put a picture of yourself if you so desire. And really the main goal behind this is to let the participants get a feel for who you are and what you do in the industry. Participants are very interested in knowing what the instructor does when they're not teaching them. And it's really great to give them some context behind what other people do in Unity outside of their specific industry. So that's always a really important thing to do. So make sure that you do take some time to introduce yourself and your experience with Unity. On that note, as you are teaching the course, please feel free to go through and add in, your own personal observations about Unity or what you found helpful while you were learning how to use the software. All these personal things really help enhance the quality of the workshop, and it's something that participants want to hear from you. So once you've introduced yourself, you're going to move into discussing the learning action plan. There may have been an instance where you've seen this before. If not, the document that the students will be getting looks like this. It's a PDF that they could fill out. And really what this does is it helps them frame what they want to do in their learning journey with Unity. So if we scroll through here, we could see the first part of the learning action plan that we want them to fill out at the beginning of the workshop. And it asks them to describe their ultimate Unity goal and their general learning experience right now where they are at the start of the workshop. Notice that there is the learning experience where they fill in what they're doing. So in this case, they're taking the Introduction to 3D Interactive Development workshop. And we want them to do the self-assessment prior to the learning experience. And at the end of this workshop, we're going to have them come in and fill out this second part, the self-assessment learning after the learning experience. So we want these first three things to be filled out at the beginning, this one at the end, and then as a wrap up, they can go in and fill out their 30, 60, and 90-day goal. Now, if there are any participants in your workshop that have taken a workshop before, hopefully they will have a learning action plan that they could take out and update and then maybe speak to the other participants about their experience with it. Now, since we're so early on in our workshops, you may not have anybody that's taken one before, but eventually that's our goal, to have returning participants come in and fill out this learning action plan as they continue on in their learning journey. So make sure that you give your participants time to fill this out, and then we'll move on to introducing the project itself. So as I previously mentioned, this is a kitchen configurator. It's similar to what you could find online at websites like IKEA and Lowe's, and it gives people who are remodeling their kitchen the opportunity to test what certain materials or certain door styles would look like in a virtual kitchen before investing the money and creating that kitchen in their own space themselves. So we are going to be creating a very simplified version of that. We're not going to have anything where you can move the kitchen pieces around. We're just focusing on swapping out kitchen pieces and customizing those. So I'm going to open up the project and I'm going to go ahead and press play. And you could already hear my computer's fan turning on because this is a fairly robust project. You shouldn't have any problems with students experiencing lag. I might, but that's because I'm also running the recording program. So don't let any lag that you see on my laptop be an indication. But that being said, be sure to run this project on your own personal laptop ahead of time to make sure that everything works properly on your own machine. So this is the first scene that they will, well, this is the first scene that will be at the start of the application. It's actually going to be one of the later scenes that they build, and it's the kitchen layout selector UI. You could see in the example that it's really basic, and the idea here is that the participants are going to be able to spend a lot of time being able to customize it. But that's a little bit later in the activity, so you're just going to start out by showing them this screen, and this is the kitchen selection scene in the master complete folder. Sorry, master complete project, and this is going to be the one that you're just going to be showing off. They're not going to have this. So you can select one of the first two kitchen scenes. The third one is just the backup scenes if somebody gets lost. I mean, you can click on that, but you really want to focus on these first two. So choose either the horseshoe or the Pullman with island configuration. I'm just going to click on the horseshoe, and you'll be able to show them that it moves into the kitchen scene. To move around, you use your right mouse button to rotate. You use your middle mouse button to pan and zoom in and out. And then you can click on an object and choose Focus on Selected to zoom in. So I modeled these controls to be somewhat similar to the traditional Unity controls. So once you get participants used to navigating around in Unity, it should be fairly natural for them to navigate around in the actual scenes that they create. So that's the idea behind that control scheme. So you'll notice that when you select an object, we have this yellow outline that appears around it. Now this is actually created with an asset from the asset store. It's a free asset that we've actually licensed from the creator, so it's really important that you let the participants know that this is an asset that exists in the asset store and credit the creator. So I'm just going to very quickly come over here and point this out for you. So the asset is by Virtual Playground, and it's called Bound Boxes, and you can actually see in the preview here, it's doing exactly what it's doing in our project. So this is 100% free. Users can use this in any of their other projects at home. It's already bundled into the project that they're going to be using, but they don't have to worry about like trying to pull it out of an existing project. They could just come here. It's going to be linked in their ebook, and just be sure to credit the user Virtual Playground for this asset. So coming back into Unity, we can see that in addition to this outline, we have this little button here. If we click on this UI scrolls in, and it has all the options related to the specific piece of furniture. So this is where the customization aspect of this kitchen configurator comes in. So the first option is for the door options, and we could select a wood type. By default, we could see that it has the middle wood, the cherry wood. So if I wanted to try a darker color, I could click on the walnut wood, and it would change the color of the doors. Notice that it's just the doors that are being updated right now. I could change the door styles. So currently they're set to arch doors. I could set them to shaker doors or even raised doors. There are door knobs here, and with the darker shade of wood, it's a little bit harder to see, so I'm going to switch it over to Chrome just so we can see them easier. There they are. Now, this is an accessory option, so they could choose to deselect that. If they uncheck the box next to doorknobs, they'll actually turn off, so that's their ability to have doors without knobs or drawers without pulls. I'm going to turn them back on. And then we have the ability, I already did it with the Chrome, but we could change the material type on these knobs. And finally, the outline of the frame of this shelf can be changed to match or differ from the doors themselves. So if they want to do some sort of like modern design with different types of wood, they totally could. So there's that. So each one of these objects will have its own select options, and notice that so long as this has been selected and not deselected, the options panel will always stay open. So if I click on this again, it'll minimize it. Though note, since this is out, if I click on something else, you can see that this is updating in real time, which can be pretty helpful. So all objects have a focus on them. So if I was to click on the dishwasher over here and then click on focus on selected again, it'll zoom us over to that specific object. And actually, since I have an object selected right now that has a part of the granite countertop, I will draw your attention to the fact that if you change the color of the granite, it will actually change across all of the granite objects in the kitchen. I'm going to click reset camera, which will bring our camera back to the original position. And then you can see that everything here is a single color. Let me change it to green. You can see that shift. And the reason for that is normally granite pieces are slabs, so it wouldn't really make sense for individually colored granite parts. So that's just a feature of this kitchen configurator. All the granite will always be just one color. So I'm going to minimize that. So that's the main customization features of this project. We're also going to spend time setting up materials. They're going to be creating their own floor material. We'll be touching on lighting and using reflection probes to get really nice reflections. Actually, let me select this guy over here and click on focus on selected. So we could see that there are some really nice reflections going on with the sink. So we could see the reflections in the scene on all the Chrome objects. And if I open that guy up and I set the drawer pulls to Chrome as well, we could see that there are some nice reflections there. So let me get out of play mode here. So that was the horseshoe kitchen, just to show you the other one. Nothing special about it. It's the exact same. I just wanted to show you the other option for the kitchen to be working with here. Now, both of these examples are going to be utilized in that kitchen selection so that users actually have the option to have multiple kitchen layouts to work with. It just wouldn't make sense in the scope of the workshop to have them sitting and working on 3 different kitchen layouts, especially since they'd be doing the same things over and over again. So we're going to provide them with the first 2, and then they're going to be able to make their third. So, after you go through and show them the overall project, be sure that you credited the user on the asset store, make sure that they are in there, and make sure that they've updated their learning action plan. And that is pretty much all you need to do for the introduction. And at that point, we're ready to go into setup. And that's what we'll do in our next video.